Hello everyone, and welcome to my General Hospital official channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. The General Hospital spoilers for Monday, May 12th, state that Emma Scorpio Drake will confront a nightmare that will serve as a turning point for Josslyn Jax. On Monday's episode of GH, Jason Morgan will be given a new task and must decide whether or not to accept it. For starters, Emma expects to turn in her extra credit work and receive accolades from Professor Henry Hank Dalton. Emma will have to face Professor Dalton's dismay because the information on her flash drive has been corrupted. We'll see Emma's anguish as she discovers all of her hard work on this data protocol has gone to waste. However, Emma's loss will benefit Josslyn in more ways than one. That is because it appears Josslyn intends to use the copied information to her advantage and impress Professor Dalton with Emma's stolen work. It should be a watershed moment in which Professor Dalton takes note of Josslyn and determines the research assistant post is a good fit for her. However, Professor Dalton will impose a condition before allowing Josslyn to become a legitimate competitor. Although Josslyn may feel bad for sabotaging Emma, Jack Brennan should be happy with her success on her WSB assignment. Speaking of missions, Jason will receive one from Tracy Quartermaine soon. After arguing with Sonny Corinthos over accepting Jen Sidwell's offer for the Piers, Jason will speak with Tracy later. Tracy no longer wants Sonny to be a dominant figure in Port Charles, while Sonny seeks a mob departure strategy. Tracy may persuade Jason that there is a way to work together here if he agrees to what she proposes. She'll seek advice from Anna Devane after leaving Maxie Jones. Brooklyn Quartermaine may seek Anna's advice as she attempts to persuade Maxie to pick between her two best pals. Maxie is currently split between Brooklyn and Lulu Spencer, and she could need some advice. As Portia Robinson attempts to handle her developing Drew Kane crisis, she will raise some red flags for Curtis Ashford. Curtis will question what Portia means when she says she defends Drew because she has to. Will Portia reveal the truth about Drew's threats, or will she be able to hide her mistake for the time being? Laura Collins will meet with Jordan Ashford in secret at Lulu's residence to receive Sidwell-related updates. Unfortunately, Jordan will not have good news and will hint at the impending calamity. Brennan will then put on the charm with Carly Spencer, catching her off surprise as he explains how much she means to him. Carly and Brennan will spend some time rebuilding their relationship, but he will continue to hide many secrets, particularly about Josslyn and her new professional path. Lulu will be surprised when Tracy asks her to stop writing about her adoption. Lulu may immediately discover that Brooklyn told Tracy about her teenage pregnancy and the baby she gave up. Of course, Brooklyn didn't reveal that Dante Falconeri was the biological father. So will Lulu tell Tracy or keep her mouth shut? According to General Hospital spoilers, Lulu will not stop digging for the whole truth, and she is getting closer to proving Giovanni Gio Palmieri's true parentage by the day. Lulu's predictions will be confirmed in the upcoming episodes, so keep watching the ABC serial. According to General Hospital spoilers, it's becoming increasingly difficult to comprehend Drew's actions these days, to the point that some fans believe he's one of the worst villains to appear in this fictional town of Port Charles since Peter August. Drew is becoming worser than Peter August. In fact, the most recent General Hospital episode saw Drew blackmailing and threatening Portia, while still pursuing Sonny. If that wasn't enough, he also slept with Willow's mother, Nina. And, as many General Hospital viewers know, he hired the nurse in the German facility to lie to Willow in order to keep Michael away from her. Many admirers have wondered aloud, can this guy get any worse? Clearly, some people already know the answer. As you can expect, the internet had a lot to say about the topic. Some have even said, whenever Drew appears on my screen, he is FF material. At this point, I'd rather bring back Peter August than deal with Drew Kane. Drew will never be held accountable for his actions at this pace. Another GH critic stated, I couldn't take another minute of Peter. One of the highlights of GH was Anna's refusal to summon an ambulance, and instead seeing him die in paralyzing pain. But I also despise fake Drew. Nobody is digging this version of fake Drew. And then there was this comment. This Drew is so far distant from the character established by Billy, he might as well be Alan and Susan's third child, making them triplets. Held hostage by a Cassadine and replaced the actual Billy, who died in the plane disaster. It goes without saying that General Hospital viewers will have to tune in every day to find out what happens next. Stay tuned for more. ABC broadcasts General Hospital on weekdays. Check the local listings for times. This week on General Hospital, Lulu's persistent spying pays off. But will she reveal what she has discovered? Sunny wants out and Willow is served. Sunny has 99 problems, but one of them isn't Sidwell. While the newcomer has caused trouble in town, he may have created a way out of Sunny's conundrums and even the life. Sunny has previously stated that the mob is a lifestyle that cannot be avoided. But could Sidwell be creating a loophole? Will Jason see it the same way? Meanwhile, this week's promo spotlights another major plot twist. After all, it is May sweeps. Lulu is confident she has discovered the truth about Dante and Brooklyn's past. And based on this week's teasers, she appears to have not only figured out that Gio is Dante's kid, but is also ready to tell Carly. Given that Carly isn't always the best at keeping secrets, this could be a big mistake. Meanwhile, Tracy assigns Jason an assignment telling him, "I need you to find him." It appears Tracy, like Lulu, isn't following Brooklyn's request that they leave things alone and don't disrupt her now-grown son's lives. Finally, Willow is served papers, which can only come from Michael. Perhaps like everyone else, he noticed Willow standing by Drew during his press conference and has been pushed too far. Let the custody battles begin. Jason's new mission. Emma's horror is Josslyn's turning point. Jason Morgan got the encrypted message when the sun had just begun to rise over Port Charles. It was brief, hurried, and held the weight of knowing his life was about to change again. He'd spent years navigating the city's perilous underbelly, juggling loyalty to his family with the harsh reality of his job. But this was different. The message was not from Sunny or Carly, nor was it about the normal power battles among different factions. This was about Emma Drake, a young woman who had become involved in something considerably deeper than anyone had thought. Emma had always been a positive presence, clever, empathetic, and fiercely independent. She had grown up in the tumult of Port Charles but had managed to forge her own path, separating herself from the shadows that hung over so many of her loved ones. Until now, whatever had occurred to her had left her rattled in ways Jason had never witnessed before. When he arrived at General Hospital, the expression in her eyes confirmed his worst thoughts. She had witnessed something that had shaken her customary calmness. "Jason," she said softly, her voice shaking. "I didn't know who else to call." He didn't pursue her for information just yet. Instead, he sat next to her, his presence alone providing a quiet confidence. It took time, but the story emerged in fractured fragments. Emma had been studying an old case that she thought was long forgotten, but her investigation had found horrors she hadn't anticipated. There were names, dates, and transactions, indicating a network operating in the city's darkest corners. And at the heart of it all was a person she never expected to see, Josslyn Jax. Josslyn. The name struck Jason like a physical punch. She was only a child in his mind, Carly's daughter, Michael's sibling, someone he had seen grow up. But Emma's terror was not unfounded. The evidence revealed that Josslyn was more than just a bystander. She was actively participating. Deeply. Jason wasn't sure whether it was by choice or coercion, but the implications were staggering. If Josslyn was connected to this, Carly and Sunny were in danger. The entire family may be in jeopardy. Jason's thoughts raced. He had spent years defending individuals he cared about, but this was a different type of peril. He couldn't remove an opponent from the outside with such precision. They adored this person, who had been a part of their life for many years. If Josslyn was drawn into this realm, there had to be a reason, some vulnerability that had been exploited, a moment of weakness that had spun out of control. Emma's hands were still shaking when she handed him the file. "I didn't want to believe it," she explained. "But the more I searched, the more I discovered. And then they found me." That explained the fear in her eyes. Someone had threatened her and told her to stop digging. But Emma was not the sort to give up, especially when innocent lives were at stake. Jason knew Josslyn possessed the same determination, which complicated the matter even more. If Josslyn was in difficulty, tricked or blackmailed, rescuing her would require more than raw force. It would need elegance, patience, and a degree of trust that may no longer exist between them. Jason's purpose was clear. Find Josslyn, establish the truth, and extract her before it was too late. But first, he had to cross the emotional and loyalty minefield that accompanied this discovery. Carly would be devastated. Sunny would be infuriated. And if Josslyn was actually involved, she may not want to be saved. Jason's phone buzzed once more as he left the hospital. This time, the location was an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of the city. There's no message, no explanation. Just coordinates. He understood it was a trap. But he also realized he had no choice. The trip was peaceful, but the weight of what lied ahead pressed down on him. Josslyn's tipping point had arrived, whether she realized it or not. Jason would do whatever it takes to ensure her survival. The warehouse loomed ahead, its cracked windows acting as hollow eyes, watching him approach. He stepped out of the car with his senses on full alert. Every shadow could conceal an attacker. Every sound could be a threat. However, the greatest risk may not be the individuals waiting for him inside, but rather the truth he was about to discover. The door creaked as he pushed it open, the dim light inside barely visible. And suddenly he heard a familiar voice in the darkness. Jason. Josslyn moved forward, her look unreadable. Her eyes showed no fear or regret, only resolve. Whatever he had expected, this was not it. The game had changed, and Jason's new quest had just started. The world of General Hospital is not short on villains, but when it comes to merciless manipulation and psychological anguish, few characters have made as lasting an impression as Peter August. However, recent developments indicate that Drew Kane is on course to outperform even Peter in terms of pure risk and unpredictability. While Peter was certainly a master of deception, Drew's downward spiral points to a darker, more dangerous threat, one capable of shaking Port Charles to its foundation. Drew appears to be the last person you would expect to become a villain. For years he has been portrayed as a hero, a loyal brother, a committed lover, and a man eager to give up his life for those he cares about. But trauma has a way of transforming even the most resilient people, and Drew's recent experiences, particularly his imprisonment and ensuing psychological torture, have left lasting scars. Drew's capacity for destruction is driven by instability, as opposed to Peter's villainy, which was frequently premeditated and cold. He's not only plotting for power, he's disintegrating, which makes him much more deadly. Peter August was a skilled manipulator who always played the long game. He planned sophisticated plans, controlled those closest to him, and maintained a charming persona while concealing his true nature. His reign of terror was characterized by premeditated maneuvers, making him a formidable but rather predictable adversary. Drew, on the other hand, does not exhibit the same level of control. His acts are motivated by anguish, betrayal, and an increasing sense of solitude. When someone with Drew's skill set, military training, intelligence, and intimate understanding of his adversaries, loses touch with reality, the results can be disastrous. One of the most concerning parts of Drew's descent is how it resembles previous villains, but with a horrifying twist. Unlike Peter, who has always maintained a sense of self-preservation, Drew appears to be becoming more reckless. He's not only targeting his opponents, he's lashing out at everyone, including those close to him. This self-destructive edge makes him unpredictable and volatile. Whereas Peter would meticulously prepare his next move, Drew acts on impulse, motivated by raw emotion rather than strategy. Drew's lack of restraint might cause lasting damage to everyone in his orbit. Another important distinction is the emotional impact Drew's actions will have on Port Charles. Peter was universally loathed, and few characters mourned his inevitable demise. Drew, on the other hand, has extensive local connections. His relationships with Sam, Scout, Jason, and others indicate that his betrayal, or worse, complete breakdown, will have far-reaching consequences. The agony he causes will not just be physical or financial. It will be deeply personal, creating scars that may never fully heal. Drew's military background adds an extra degree of danger. Peter was cunning, but he was not a physical threat in the same sense. Drew, on the other hand, has fighting training, tactical expertise, and can defend himself against even the most formidable opponents. If he completely embraces his darkest tendencies, Port Charles may not have anyone who can stop him. Jason Morgan, Sonny Corinthos, and even Curtis Ashford may find themselves outmatched, not only in strength but also in sheer unpredictability. Perhaps the most terrifying feature of Drew's change is how justifiable his rage appears. Peter was an evil through and through, with few redeeming characteristics. Drew, however, has valid complaints. He was subjected to experimentation, imprisonment, and psychological abuse. His feelings of betrayal by individuals he trusted are not completely unwarranted. This gray area makes his actions all the more disturbing because viewers, and other characters, may struggle to fully condemn him. That moral ambiguity could cause tensions among allies, as some may sympathize with Drew even as he spirals out of control. The General Hospital spoilers for the week of May 12th to 16th state that Sonny Corinthos will pay Willow Corinthos a visit, while Nina Reeves' future is in jeopardy. Rick Lansing will also receive an enticing offer, so this is what fans may expect. For starters, Jason Morgan will oppose Sonny Corinthos' choice because he is considering selling his peers to Jen Sidwell. Since Jason will be plotting with Carly Spencer in the aftermath, he may seek her assistance in shutting down Sonny's plans. Laura Collins will also be surprised that Sonny caved in on Sidwell's plan, no matter how profitable it is. Laura will eventually lose her patience, which could result in a confrontation with Drew Kane or even Ezra Boyle. According to further GH rumors, Tracy Quartermain will try to work out a bargain with Jason to get his participation on a special project she has devised. Josslyn Jax will be busy carrying out her WSB orders, but she will feel horrible about engineering Emma Scorpio Drake's demise. Even so, Josslyn will make a pledge and perhaps reassure Jack Brennan or Vaughn that everything is proceeding as planned. Professor Henry Hank Dalton will be impressed. Thus Josslyn may promise to secure this research assistant position sooner rather than later. Curtis Ashford may be concerned about Drew Kane's control on her when Portia Robinson throws some hints. Whether or if Portia confesses, Ava Jerome will give her some much-needed counsel later. Carly will then pressure Lulu Spencer to stop her adoption research, especially if she discovers that Lulu believes Giovanni Gio Palmieri is Brooke Lynn Quartermain and Dante Falconeri's grown kid. Carly's admonition is evidently ineffective, as Lulu will intensify her hunt for the entire adoption tale later. Willow also has some sadness in her future, which could include learning about Drew's dubious actions. Willow will eventually realize that Michael Corinthos did not actually turn her away from the facility in Germany. Drew was responsible for this, thus he may face charges of bribery and manipulation. Drew will find something vital in the future episodes, so he may try to mitigate the damage or escalate his threats against another critical individual. Sonny will eventually pay Willow a visit, and he may inform her about his plans to leave the mob, as well as push her to reconcile with Michael. When Christina Corinthos Davis' issue worsens, Alexis Davis will try to take control of it. Because Rick will receive an enticing offer, Alexis may attempt to sway him against Ava, even if the plot is unlikely to succeed. Finally, Nina's future is jeopardized since Willow may abandon her if she discovers the truth about Drew's drugging. Carly will be on the receiving end of Nina's essential request, so Nina may implore her to assist with the cover-up. General Hospital spoilers suggest the week of May 12th to 16th will be filled with vengeful prophecies, startling news, and plenty of tension, so stay tuned for updates on all the mayhem. Sonny's bombshell, Curtis suspicious, Jordan's warning, Dalton's situation. On the next GH, a game-changing discovery. Job on the line. Prepare for a mysterious outburst, followed by truly surprising information and a critical warning. In addition, a romantic surprise occurs alongside complete incredulity. The General Hospital spoilers for Monday, May 12, 2025 are here. In the following episode, Jordan Ashford offers a warning. Lulu Spencer is blocked. Emma Scorpio Drake realizes something is wrong. In addition, Portia Robinson tells Curtis Ashford too much information. Jordan Ashford's warning. Jordan publicly resigned from the mayor's office in order to trick Jen Sidwell into giving him information. Jordan even followed Sidwell to a meeting, encouraging Sonny Corinthos to listen to what the villain had to say. Sonny is even considering Sidwell's peer proposal. Later, Jordan runs into the mayor's office. Jordan panics and informs Laura Collins that she's in serious jeopardy. Sonny Corinthos' decision. Speaking of Sonny, he tells Jason Morgan about Sidwell's proposition. Despite Jason's pleadings, Sonny seemed to have made up his mind. Sonny informs Jason that he will not turn down the opportunity for the sake of their family. Meanwhile, Carly Spencer questions Jack Brennan about how much she means to him. Emma Scorpio Drake's intuition. According to General Hospital teasers for the upcoming episode, Emma claims that something is seriously wrong. Emma's hunch is correct, but what will she do about it? Emma truly wanted that job, but it wasn't because she admired the professor. Emma spoke to Josslyn Jax about the animal experiments and her aim. Will Emma interfere with Josslyn's goal now that she has followed WSB orders and been assigned to the post of research assistant? Emma could unwittingly endanger people's life. Monday, May 12, 2025. Fans will also watch Josslyn interact with Professor Henry Hank Dalton. Joss has the job, but the professor has one requirement. Meanwhile, Lulu wonders if she is being ordered to kill the piece. Curtis and Portia will resume their uncomfortable confrontation at the hospital. When Curtis asks why she's defending Drew Kane, Portia explains that she has to. It appears like Portia will need to clarify to her husband what she means by that comment. Will Curtis ultimately learn that Drew has been blackmailing his wife, pressuring her to commit a desperate crime? Drew's whodunit appears to be coming up shortly, so we'll see what happens next. Joss fakes a relationship with Vaughn when Carly catches them together. According to General Hospital teasers, Josslyn Jax and Vaughn will undoubtedly have a close encounter, because to their WSB assignment. How will Joss explain away a work bond? And what if her mother discovers them? Carly Spencer knows her daughter. According to General Hospital teasers, Joss can blow off her pals but not Carly Spencer. Carly knows her daughter, and if she sees Vaughn and Joss together, she'll ask why she hasn't met Josslyn's new buddy. Depending on how Carly reacts, Josslyn's mother may just believe that Vaughn is her daughter's new boyfriend and the two are covertly dating. If this is the case, Joss may simply run with the falsehood. Josslyn needs to keep her new WSB life a secret, so if Carly leaps to the wrong conclusion, Joss may resort to lying to cover her tracks. While Carly may be upset that Josslyn did not confide in her, Joss may reassure her mother that the two are not serious. She might even make up an excuse, such as saying they are secretly dating because Vaughn has a jealous ex-girlfriend, or something similar. Fiction becomes reality. Still, could lying about being with her WSB handler lead to sparks between Joss and Vaughn? Now that she's a super spy, Josslyn has no one else to turn to but Jack Brennan. She and Vaughn have grown closer since their return to Port Charles. Will they cross a line at some point? Given the facts, this appears to be unavoidable. Will Carly catch Josslyn and Vaughn in a close encounter? Will she presume they're dating? Will Josslyn tell the untruth to protect her WSB secret? We had no clue how devastated we'd be to learn on May 9, 2023, that Jacqueline Zaman had died. Bobby Spencer, a General Hospital hooker who later became a nurse, had been a part of our lives for almost 45 years. She was a consistent presence, much like the nurses' station on the 7th floor. It seemed impossible that she would simply disappear. Anthony Geary, who played her Enidwell brother for decades, was astounded. I never heard her say anything negative about any actor, crew person, or coworker. In fact, I have never heard Jackie say anything unpleasant about anyone. In a highly competitive field where ego, feelings, and emotions are essential, I found this trait to be incredibly unusual. I anticipate it will be even more rare, he went on, now that darling Jackie is gone. Her big break. Zaman, a New Jersey native, began her daytime career with a modest role on The Edge of Night. That led to a minor role on One Life to Live, which grew into a 2-year contract as the ill-fated waitress-turned-nurse Lana McLean. By the time that character was killed off, the rising star had caught the attention of General Hospital executive producer Gloria Monty, who hired her as Spitfire Bobby in 1977. There was only one hitch, Zaman claimed in General Hospital, the complete scrapbook. I needed to lose 10 pounds. But I was glad to do it, she explained. One Life to Live urged me to add 15 pounds to play Lana. Los Angeles, September 15th. Gloria Monty, Jacqueline Zaman, and Ken Schreiner on the set of General Hospital at Sunset Gower Studios, September 15, 1980. The Wild Years. Newer fans might only remember Carly's mother as wise and nurturing. But in her early years on the show, she was quite a hellion, moving heaven and earth to separate former lover Scotty Baldwin from the object of his affections, Laura Weber. It was insane in those days. Bobby was a bad girl back then, Zaman remarked during a 2022 State of Mind interview. Irate viewers sent death threats via letter, so I had full-time FBI bodyguards on me for over a year. Love Unlimited. Though time mellowed Bobby, And mercifully the audience, it did not help her chances in the romance department. She was married 4 times and has had more broken hearts than any other patient in the hospital's cardiac unit. The peak of popularity. As the love triangle of Bobby, Scotty Laura, Luke took fire, transforming General Hospital into an overnight hit, Zamon's star soared steadily. The competition panicked to the point that, I had a network offer me $250,000 not to re-sign my General Hospital contract, Zaman explained. I didn't have to do anything. Just don't resign for a year. The gentle hum of the hospital's fluorescent lights filled the room as Sonny Corinthos entered, his presence dominating yet muted. Willow lay in the bed, her face pallid but composed, her eyes darting with tiredness and quiet determination. She'd gone through so much. More than anyone should ever have to go through. But she still had a tenacity that even disease couldn't take away. Sonny approached hesitantly, his typical confidence tested by the gravity of the situation. He had come to regard her not as a prominent figure in Port Charles's underworld, but as a guy who knew loss, suffering, and the fragility of life. Hey, he replied gently, his voice scratchy with unexpressed emotion. Willow tilted her head slightly and gave him a faint, sleepy grin. Sonny, I did not expect to see you here. He shrugged almost sheepishly. I figured you could use some company that wasn't just doctors and nurses. There was a silence, and the weight of unspoken words hung between them. Willow knew Sonny wasn't just here out of courtesy. Their lives were inextricably linked in ways that went beyond friendship. Her husband, Michael, was Sonny's son, and while their relationship had been rocky in the past, family had a way of bringing people back together, especially during times of hardship. How are you holding up? Sonny inquired, his black eyes scanning hers. Willow sighed as her fingertips traced the edge of the hospital blanket. Some days are better than others. The therapies are difficult, but I am battling. Sonny nodded as his jaw tightened. He understood what it meant to fight against adversaries' fate and the odds. You are strong. Stronger than most people I know. She chuckled softly. I do not feel powerful. I just feel tired. That's okay, he said. You don't always need to be. That is exactly why the rest of us are here. The sincerity in his voice was undeniable, and Willow allowed herself to be comforted by his words for a little while. She'd spent so much of her life supporting others, her students, her colleagues, her family, that it felt unusual, almost disconcerting to be the one in need. But Sonny wasn't giving empty platitudes. He meant everything he said. Another storm was brewing across town, and it threatened to disrupt people's lives in a totally different way. Nina Reeves sat in her office at Crimson, staring blankly at her computer. The words on the sheet in front of her blurred together, as her mind was too engaged to concentrate on work. The recent revelations about her background and the decisions she had made had left her reeling. She had spent so long believing she was the victim, the one who had been wronged, only to realize that she had engineered her own demise. And now the consequences were looming. Her phone vibrated, jolting her out of her reverie. A text from an unknown number flashed across the screen. We need to talk. It is about your future. Nina's breath caught. She didn't recognize the number, but something in the message sent shivers down her spine. Was there a threat? A warning? Or did someone offer her a way out of the disaster she had made? Before she could decide how to react, her office door opened, revealing an unexpected and unwelcome visitor. Rick Lansing stood in the doorway, his face impassive, his hands nonchalantly tucked into the pockets of his tailored suit. Nina, he said calmly. Long time no see. Nina's stomach twisted. Rick was not a man who showed up without a plan. Their history was convoluted, full with betrayals and manipulations. The last thing she needed was another player in the game, particularly one as shrewd as Rick. What do you want? She inquired, her tone rougher than she intended. Rick smirked as he stepped farther into the room. Direct to the point. I've always admired that about you. He sat down across from her without waiting for an invitation. I hear you're in a bit of a bind. Nina's fingers tightened around the pen. And how does that relate to your business? Because, Rick explained, leaning forward with an eager gaze, I might have a solution for you. She scoffed. I highly doubt that. Hear me out, he said. You're facing professional disaster and a personal scandal, the kind of stuff that won't go away. But I have connections and resources. I could make all of this disappear. Nina narrowed her gaze. What's in it for you? Rick's smile was slow and thoughtful. Now that's the right question. The air between them crackled with tension. Nina knew better than to put her trust in Rick, who was always up to something. But desperation has a way of making even the most risky offers appear appealing. Back in the hospital, Sonny's visit was coming to a close. He arose, straightening his coat, and his gaze softened as he looked down at Willow. You need anything at all, you let me know. Willow nodded, her eyes gleaming with gratitude. Thank you, Sonny. That means a lot. He gently squeezed her hand before turning and leaving. His phone rang when he strolled down the antiseptic hallway. He pulled it out and checked the caller ID before answering. Yeah,